Okay.
Awesome. So
David,
now you have to
TGIF,
introduce the
man.
show, Mark.
I know.
TGIF, that's the name of the show.
That's right. Yeah, we are gonna go live, try this out. I'm playing around with this live software for the first time, and I appreciate you being just willing to hop on. You and I were having just a private mano-y-mano conversation, and here we are. We've got an extra 20 minutes to burn on a Friday. We're trying to get to the end of the work week, and so this is a way for us to do it. So appreciate you being willing to jump on.
Yeah, no
Uh,
problem. So which platform are we streaming on right now?
we are on all the cool ones. We got Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube at the moment.
Can you see if anyone's watching us yet?
I have no idea. So we could play around and find out if anybody's talking to me, if they're cussing us out or whatever. It doesn't matter, I guess. I'm not seeing where to get the chat notifications or whatever. I can see
I
where
know
you and I
that
can chat.
see, I'm more familiar with StreamYard, and it usually has a thing that shows up that says like eyeballs. Like it shows a little eyeball, and
Mm-hmm.
like it'll have
Mm-hmm.
numbers of people when people are joining live. The
Oh, it does show that. Okay, yeah, I see now. Yeah, and we've got a private chat here.
Yeah.
So if anybody here has ever used Restream, feel free to tell me. Um, oh, and you know what? If I go off screen, it's because I've got a guy down in the basement working on a project. So if that happens, this will be really cool.
If that
Because
happens,
David,
I'll
yeah.
read excerpts from this amazing book I've heard so much about. It's
Ah,
called The Business
yeah. All
Fortress.
right.
That's right.
Yes.
So how was
Wonderful.
your
Well, that
week?
may actually be happening.
Was it a busy week for
Yeah.
you?
So it's been a one more week in the books, and just looking over kind of what's been happening. I'm gonna go pull up what actually one of the things I've started doing lately is I actually take notes on the things that worked in my life because as entrepreneurs to not have things ready to go or like not be able to think on the positive, only the negative. Um, so I'm gonna pull up the biggest wins from the last week, and it does look like my guy is needing my attention. So should I end the stream and then we start again, or do you just want to read a section or talk about some of the business fortress for a few minutes? What would you want me to
I
try
can
again?
talk while you go.
Hey,
I can
what?
talk.
All right. I don't think it'll. I don't think anyone will mind if we end the stream and start again too. I don't mind. So you want to try it out? You want to
Well,
try
you see,
starting again?
the longer it goes, more people may be notified that you're live,
Okay.
and so
Okay.
so
All
they
right.
might join in. So if you want to talk to the contractor, what are you going to
Sure.
share
Okay.
something on the screen?
No, I was just trying that out, seeing what that was. So, okay, I'm gonna go off camera, and then it'll be solo David for a minute. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Sorry,
Yeah, sure,
apologies
no
for this.
problem.
I'll be right back. Have some fun and see what kind of trouble you can get into on my channels here.
Awesome.
I'll be right
Well,
back.
I don't think I have any controls, so I won't be able to get
Okay.
into too much trouble. So
All right. Cool.
so I'll
I'll be
just
right
tell.
back.
I'll just no problem, Mark. I'll so hey everyone, my name is David Barnett, co-author of the Business Fortress. That oops, sorry, Mark and I wrote together, released earlier this year. We were just having a touch base meeting when he decided to do his very first live stream. So I'm glad that you decided to join us. Mark was talking about the week and what the week entailed, and I'm going to wait until he gets back before I talk about my week this past week. But what he was saying about keeping track of things that work out well, I was actually reflecting on that this morning because I was writing an email to the people on my email list, and I was talking about all the big accomplishments that me and my team have done this year. We added two new people to my team. Melody and Alberto joined us back in February, bringing our total team size up to five, which was it's getting kind of big. And I've had a team that size before, but it's been a few years. And this year we had some huge projects that we put out there. One of my premier online training programs is called Business Buyer Advantage, and it has been out for now over 10 years. And we keep iterating and refreshing parts of it and adding new bonus modules. But this year we decided to go back to the drawing board. We created an entire new framework for the process of teaching how you go through the acquisition of a small
All right.
business. And starting from scratch, we rebuilt everything. So Jay Reed Production Studios said hello. So I think Julia's tuned in. We got our first
Hey.
live audience member who's saying hello.
Very good.
I was just telling everyone about all the stuff I got done this year. I released the book with you. That was the second thing I got done this year. besides
Mm-hmm.
hiring a couple of new people. And the big thing, Mark, is that probably for the last 2 months, we've been working on an equally large redo of my small business exit and selling program. And we're actually recording that next week. And that's going to be the big new thing that comes out for my team is going to be basically a exit planning program for small business owners that is going to teach people how small businesses are actually sold. But it's not going to be exclusive about selling your business. It's going to encompass all the different various exit strategies that someone might employ
Mm-hmm.
and talk about the importance of things like financial planning. In fact, when I go through that program, the first stage is goal setting. What do you want retirement to look like? What are important goals for the business, for your family, for the community that you're a part of? The second part is a resource assessment, which is what resources do you have outside the business? So this is where working with someone like yourself is important, having a financial planner, helping to make investments and things. And then we have people look at the gap.
Sure. Yeah.
What resources do you have that can provide for your retirement, and is it going to be short versus what your goals are? And if it is short, if there's a gap, that's usually what has to be filled by the business in one way or another. And then we go through the
Mm-hmm.
different ways people can exit their business and how there's different levels of sort of liquidity or lucrativity, I guess you could say, for different exit paths. Um, Fun fact that came up in our research: did you know the average business owner in the United States and Canada retires on average 5 years later than the average employee?
I don't. I believe it. It does sound about right here in the United States too. So I will
Yeah.
be. I'll be right back one last time. The gentleman wants me to sign a bill payment, so I will be back soon. Thank you. Just a minute.
All right. No problem. Pay them. So, so we've been working on the exit planning course, and what's fun, of course, now that we're in 2025, is that we've actually, when we've been redoing these programs, we've been increasingly creating these AI tools for our students to use. So in the Business Buyer Advantage program, we have, for example, an AI tool that interviews you and you upload your resume or give it the link to your LinkedIn profile. And then it interviews you and asks you questions. And after about 20 questions or so, it then goes through a methodology that we've trained it in to help determine sort of lists of industries that we think you might be suited to. And more importantly, it gives you a triage list of qualities or characteristics in a small business that would be a good fit for you and things you should avoid. So things like that, versus years ago where it's just exercises with checklists and things, and do it yourself, add up your points, all this kind of thing. With these AI tools, it's pretty cool because we can actually get the AI to kind of act like that interviewer and sort of do the math and then summarize the suggestions and really make the whole process of doing some of these kinds of tools a lot less onerous and easier to execute. So it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, the other big thing, of course, that's improved with all of my programs is the quality of the artwork because I've got someone on my team who's actually good at that stuff now versus me trying to whip up drawings in Microsoft Paint. Hey,
So you
I just made a
improved,
startling admission that all my artwork from years ago was made in Microsoft Paint.
and it all it still turned out okay. I saw a one of my favorite advertisements of all time was a giant billboard of Microsoft Paint. It looked like a window of Microsoft Paint, and it said, "Now hiring graphic designer." And I thought that's just a genius way to.
If I had been smart, Mark, I would have gone through and taken all those old pieces of Microsoft Paint artwork I had, and I would have sold them as NFTs
Yeah,
back a couple years
that's
ago
right.
when people were paying tens of thousands of dollars for
Wow.
that kind of thing.
What do you think? What do you think about that? I mean, here we are. We're on live, so we're I think just pontificating and thank you again. I did not expect the guy to be done that fast. I had a yearly furnace repair, so we're just doing this real deal live, guys. And thank you, David,
Yeah.
for holding the space here. Well, what do you think about cryptocurrencies, NFTs? Where are we this year? The right now the crypto space seems to have been a bit less feverish than previous years. In fact, we were just sort of pontificating how gold and precious metals have been the really the best performing asset this year, which is saying a lot.
Mhm.
So we've jokingly called gold nature's Bitcoin for many months around our show here because it's the oldest cryptocurrency. It lives outside of governments. What do you think
I,
about
I
where the crypto space is this year?
so so in my mind, an investment is something that produces a cash flow by executing some kind of function. So
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
business that has a product or service people want to buy, and they execute that profitably,
Right.
whatever it is. Like think of Coca-Cola, right? They mix sugar, water, and flavor, and they people want to buy it, and that's a profitable thing. So to me, because it has that cash flow, then it becomes a valuable investment because you're tying yourself to that cash flow. Anything that doesn't have a cash flow is something else. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'll talk about gold in a minute, but to me, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, all these things, because it goes up or down in price simply based on demand. In my book, it's the same thing as a baseball card or a piece of artwork.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vehicle for speculation. Its value is determined simply by whether or not somebody else wants it and they're willing to
Mm-hmm.
pay for it. I think gold is a little bit different because gold is the only of these things we've discussed that actually meets the five qualities of money. So
Mm-hmm.
it's durable, it's divisible, it's fungible. It I forget what all five of them are, honestly, but there's sort of these five
Quickly
elements, and I remember
liquid,
one
right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like,
liquid and
mm-hmm.
divisible. Did I mention
Yeah.
that? I don't know,
Yeah, it has
but
a broad enough market base that it's not. There's a wide enough market base that enough people would use it that you could, like if I'm the only guy that wants to sell my refrigerator in town, it's not like there's a broad market for people selling refrigerators in town. I guess at that point. So,
well,
um,
but there's also a barrier or a limitation to new gold coming into the world because it
right,
requires a
yeah,
lot of energy
yeah,
and commitment and capital to like
mm-hmm,
build a mine, all that kind of stuff to actually get more of it out, right?
mm-hmm,
So it and people will say, well, Bitcoin is kind of created through this digital mining activity, but it's not a tangible thing, right? Whereas gold is. And I remember
right,
once watching this video. If you go into YouTube and you say, um, scientific reasons for gold being valuable or something like that, you'll come up with this video a guy made where he talks about the five things that you need in a money, and then he'll look at the periodic table and he'll say, well, these things here all have a short half-life, so they won't survive very long, and
sure,
these things down here are radioactive, so you can't use them as money. It'll make you sick.
mm-hmm,
And then these things here, will oxidize and turn into rust, so we can't use them. And he goes one by one through all these different things, and you end up with gold and silver as being the
wow,
two elements left that
hmm.
meet the five qualities. And then, of course, over the course of our history, these are the two metals that we've used for money.
So there's probably a way to spell out a word or acronym here. Durability, it's got to withstand physical wear and tear. Portability, it's got to be easy to carry and transfer.
Yeah.
Divisibility, which you can break into smaller units. Uniformity, which is like you were saying, consistent quality, fungible, I guess. And then acceptability, it's got to be widely accepted. And you're saying that gold and silver meet those requirements, but crypto, as of today anyway, does not. Why not? What is the and why is there such demand for it, even on Wall Street and index funds, even now and beyond?
Well, if you turn the power off, it's gone,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like so so
Mm-hmm.
most of the things on that list just disappear. It evaporates when you turn the power
Yeah.
off.
Right.
I think that it's a tech thing. I think that people are enamored with the idea that you can use technology to create something which has a novelty to it. And people will give me all sorts of arguments as to why you should own Bitcoin, and they'll say things like the blockchain technology is so great. And I agree that blockchain technology is great, and I know that there's applications for it, but owning a Bitcoin is not an investment in an IT company that is using blockchain to produce a
Right.
service. That owning a share in that company would be back to my example with Coca-Cola. Like you bought a share of a productive company that's doing some kind of thing that is valuable. I just think it's a vehicle for speculation. It
Mm-hmm.
trades
Mm-hmm.
more like a tech stock.
Mm-hmm.
Gold is trading more like money that can't be printed. And so, I own ounces of gold, and I can tell you that over the course of this past year, the price in dollars and every other currency of the gold has gone up,
Yeah.
but the gold hasn't changed. I mean, I can dig it out, from the drawer that it's in, and I can show it to you. It's exactly the same as it was when I put it in there. So it's the gold is not changing. It's merely reflecting, I think, the change in people's attitudes around these other currencies.
You know, I love that. And I have a very similar opinion as you in this. I didn't know that about you, David, before we hit record and just started talking. So it's cool to just, have shoot the breeze a little bit on a Friday afternoon and discuss all this. I'm kind of curious, what I just looked up here, and I'm looking on an AI result. So, check sources, of course, but I wanted to know, what is the Dow gold ratio? Have you ever looked into this?
Isn't it like
Like, what is
9?
the
It's like 9, I think. They're 10.
You might be right. Let's see. So in 1925, the ratio was about like 3 to 4.
Yeah.
And so, like, how many ounces of gold would it take to buy 1 unit of the Dow? Basically, is what I'm looking for. So in 1925, it was about 3 to 4 ounces to buy the gold, or to buy the Dow. It was in 1929, during the peak, right before the crash, it was 18 to 20 ounces of gold. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so that's interesting. And then the low was 1.9 after like the 1933 bottoming out of the markets. I guess the current day, as of today, so again, it's averaged overall range is like 1.3 to 40. In 1999, it took 40 ounces of gold to buy the Dow. Today, it's at 18. So it's like 15 to 18 ounces of gold to buy the Dow Jones. I wonder now about the NASDAQ, right? What about the NASDAQ?
I think you get this whole idea of ratio trading is really interesting, because I know that amongst people that are really into metals, silver and gold, they will often create whole investment strategies around the ratio between gold and silver. So if if 1 ounce of gold becomes worth 80 or 90 or 100 ounces of silver, they'll say that the silver is underpriced because its naturally occurring ratio on Earth is something like 30 to 1 or something. So that instance, they'll sell gold and buy silver. And then when the ratio goes the other way, when it starts to be fewer and fewer ounces of silver to buy gold, they'll then do the opposite move. And so a lot of people will say, if you just own gold, you're not going to get any kind of rate of return. It doesn't pay interest, it doesn't pay dividends, etc. The real metal,
It froze on my side. Hopefully, it's still live here. David, you there? Check. I'm not seeing him. Oh, David. Oh. Looks like add to the stream. Looks like. Oh, there you go. Okay, so you were saying it doesn't pay interest, it doesn't pay dividends. It's just going to sit there in your desk drawer and collect dust. Yeah. I agree with you. That's a lot of people turn down gold because of that. Now,
but people will do this
ratio
trading. So when silver gets up to like 80 or 90 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold, they'll sell some gold and buy more silver. And then when the silver strengthens, they'll reverse that. And so by playing the ratio over the course of time, what they'll do is they'll end up with more ounces.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. And so there are strategies. Yep. But ultimately, some of the people that I have heard talk about these long-term super cycles in debt and interest rates and metals and all this kind of stuff, they'll talk about the Dow gold ratio, because what they'll say is that if it's 9 ounces of gold buys the Dow, and then you end up with changing prices to all of a sudden maybe it's 4 ounces of gold buys the Dow, that would be the time maybe to sell gold and start buying publicly traded stocks again.
Sure. Yeah, it's sort of like when you're driving down the highway and there's two cars and you notice one car is moving backwards. It's not that they're going backwards, it's just one may be accelerating or a little bit faster than the other one. So I guess it's important to think like, well, what is the right reference point? And I guess you're saying gold or something like it would be the mountain on the horizon that we can always hold to, whether the car beside us is going up or down. Is the stock market overvalued compared to what? Yeah. And you're saying, I think we're both agreeing that find something that can be most attributed to money, with the 5 characteristics of money that's existed like that for thousands of years, I guess I kind of agree with you there.
At the heart of it, I just think gold is money that can't be printed by a central bank,
Right? Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and and this is why it's traditionally been the reserve of central banks.
So
The,
we didn't get on here to talk about gold, but why is gold going up so much today? Why do you think? I mean, related to what you were just saying about the reserve of central banks.
well, if you look at the position in gold of central banks, they've been increasing it steadily over the last year, especially, and I think it's geopolitical. It
Hmm.
used to be the largest reserve holding by most central banks was U.S. dollars or U.S. treasuries or some kind of U.S. denominated security instrument. And now people are seeing things like trade tariffs being thrown up. They're seeing trade policy changed with a tweet. you know, um,
Hmm.
uh, whether you are a fan or not of the president, everyone has to agree that it's been volatile. There's been
Hmm.
unexpected twists and turns at every turn. And so these other banks are now central banks who have to defend the interests of their countries and their currencies are saying, do we want to hold our reserves as, US treasuries, or do we want to hold it in something that we absolutely can control because we can bring it in here and hide it under the bed? And, that's what they do. Like, these central
Hmm.
banks will buy gold and they'll have it delivered. Every country's got a Fort Knox of some kind, and they keep it hidden there. And at the end of the
Sure.
day, like these, the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India,
Hmm.
China, South Africa.
South
Um,
Africa. Hmm.
Yeah, there was speculation for a while there that these countries were going to get together and try to create some kind of alternative currency to the US dollar to facilitate trade amongst them. And what
Mm,
they're
yeah.
actually doing is they're actually just trading in their own currencies, but they're using essentially the old gold exchange standard that used to exist here back before the 1920s, I think, where they trade with each other in their own currencies, and at the end of the month they settle their imbalances, and if one owes the other something, they just settle by moving some gold. and
Hmm. Hmm.
and nobody's questioning whether it's like a check that's going to bounce, right? Because it's like so
Right.
many so
Hmm.
many kilos of gold and it gets moved over, and so
Hmm.
they're trying to create an alternative economy that ends up being outside the SWIFT system. It ends up being outside of the control of Western governments and influence.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting to see, but it's a actual use case example of why gold is respected as a form of payment. I guess
Hmm.
it's there, it's solid, you can test it.
Yep. Yeah, I fully agree. It's a point in time where, I think the system that we are used to has to be evaluated and probably upended in a smart and prudent way. Just I was just telling you before we hit record. I recently have been listening in, reading up on like what would be a systematic and responsible way to end the death spiral of infinite inflation and money printing, quantitative easing, as they like to call it. And I assume Canada's doing the same thing that the United States is doing, just maybe at a different level or whatever. But this faith and credit business is not going to last forever, no matter how many airplanes and military might you might have. It's only as good as the paper it's printed on and the institution that backs it, you might say. I'm personally fascinated by the idea that you could, and this goes clear back to Ludwig von Mises. He's an economist who
Hmm.
pushed the idea that you could get off the Federal Reserve entirely by reprivatizing it truly, back down to just a system of network of banks. Why should they be a cartel that controls the interest rates of all of us, like some sort of monopoly? And then go back to the gold standard by essentially pegging a certain price. Maybe that's $4,000 an ounce, today's price, right? But then you let markets sort of work it out over the next 3 months, and you say, okay, if the dollar is worth less, if it's worth 90 cents to the dollar of gold, the currency exchange traders would just adjust, sell dollars, buy gold, and over time, the dollars received that were not backed by gold, with the different serial numbers on them or something, if they're the old dollar that was not tied to a dollar in gold, they would burn them or delete them off the ledger, whatever, as they're collecting mortgage payments or bond payments. And slowly, over maybe a year or two, you phase out the old currency that was not backed by anything but faith and credit, and you establish a new dollar with a new, serial number or something that is backed by something that's like it used to be, redeemable in gold. What are your thoughts about that
I
strategy?
I saw a meme the other day, and it said it was a picture, and it said if Tylenol caused autism, and it was a picture of the United States, and it was from a different kind of world of online, and it was like um, the U.S. high-speed rail network circa 2050, and the whole
Mm.
idea
Hmm.
was that
Yeah.
if people were influenced to be very thoughtful and logical and focused, we'd have European style high speed trains all across North America. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is
Yeah.
that people aren't like that. People are emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm.
you know,
Right.
people like, I honestly believe that the average person likes free stuff more than they like freedom. And this is why, this is why the people who get elected keep getting elected. And
Mm-hmm.
the problem I believe with the financial system is that the vested interests of people who have an interest in continuing it the way it is are the ones who are in power and control everything, and that it's really difficult to get everybody to agree we're going to do a very logical, well thought out plan like the one you're suggesting, because ultimately what would happen is the politicians would have to agree to give up all their power, and their power comes from the
Mm.
ability to print money and to spend it before
Yeah.
the inflation hits everyone else and they realize that they
Mm.
just
Yeah.
spent money, purchasing power stolen from the people, right? And so
Sure. Yeah. The Cantillon effect. Yeah.
yeah, I unfortunately think that these kinds of changes come from serious upset, and
Mm-hmm.
there's got to be some sort of cataclysmic event, and it's not some kind of revolution, economic crash, whatever, is going to have to uh, I mean, listen, the world's addicted to easy money. And if you've ever,
Mm-hmm.
you know, seen or heard anything about people who have problems with substance abuse, they're all talking about this, rock bottom event that people have to go through if they're going to change their life. And
Sure. Yeah.
I think it applies to this as well.
You got to be able to, hold on whenever. So give us some hope as we kind of wrap up. I don't, it's a Friday after all.
So,
So,
yeah,
got to be able to hold
it's
on while you
simply
can.
if you, I think that you either have to be a believer in the overall goodness of all people that we're going to come together and form a logical solution. And I would point to things like climate change. And now there's a huge number of people that fear this and they've come together to try to create a solution. And it's like herding cats to get everybody on board
Mm-hmm.
in the same
Yeah.
way, right? Um, or you can just say, I'm going to do what I need to be responsible for myself, which may mean instead of trying to get your country to run on a gold backed currency, that you just own some gold and
Yeah. Right. You can do that today, right?
put
Still
your
legal in
put
our countries.
yourself
Yeah.
into a better footing, like
Mm-hmm.
be your own central banker, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the idea. I love it. I have a feeling there's probably some books that have been written on becoming your own central banker, right?
I think that's probably the
So
title.
yes, yeah, yeah. In fact, so related but not directly is this one, which
Yeah,
is when you're your own entrepreneur, you control the whatever currency is being paid at the cash register at your business. If you're a laundromat or if you're selling a product or a widget or a service, you can do almost any currency as long as you're willing to accept it, as long as you have the skills of being a business owner. And that comes down to shaking hands with your fellow man and
yeah.
being rewarded with gold coins or dollar bills or whatever.
Well, you just have to talk to somebody who lives in a country that has a lack of currency stability. So I know someone, I'm getting to know them quite well, who lives in Argentina. And it's interesting because before the latest government was elected, who've made some serious reforms that have reduced the inflation rate,
Mm-hmm.
nobody was willing to sign, for example, a lease.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you could rent an apartment and you'd literally negotiate the rent every month because
Mm.
inflation was so rampant, and no landlord would sign a lease with the tenant. And so everybody's
Sure.
kind of like on pins and needles, like nobody really knows what's going on. Or if they did sign some kind of contract, it would be denominated in some other thing. Like it would reference US dollars, for example, uh, could,
Mm-hmm.
could reference euros. But now that inflation has come down, one of the new things that's come out in Argentina lately is the mortgage again. It,
Oh,
because,
wow. Hmm.
because again, banks wouldn't make mortgages because how could you ever wrap your head around the risk of a long-term
Hmm.
loan if you didn't know what the inflation
Yeah.
rate was going to
Wow.
be, right? And so
Fantastic.
so it's
Wow.
if you're going to own your own business, no matter what happens, people are going to need to trade with each other. And people right now in Venezuela have a functioning economy. People are buying and selling stuff with each other. The
Yeah.
baker's still making bread. People are going in there and they're buying it. And the way that they're figuring out how to make it work is very creative. Um, Businesses, especially if you're selling a product or service that people need, are always going to have a path open to them. And I think that in order to
Mm-hmm.
be successful in business, you've got to be a creative person. And these, other people have had to deal with this. Um, I don't know how bad
It's true.
inflation and everything's going to get, but I'm hopeful things are going to be okay.
Yeah. Love it. I think what can you control? Focus on that, and then have some backup plans. Prepare for the tornado while it's still sunny outside.
That's
Or
right.
as soon as the storm clouds start to build.
I channel your inner Marcus Aurelius. Like just
That's right. Oh yeah.
worry about the
Mm-hmm.
stuff you actually control. That's
Yep. It's
if you
great.
if you sit around worrying about stuff that you can't control, you'll get yourself bent out of shape. I mean, there's all kinds of people out there who get upset at the Fed or whatever thing there is, and they type into a computer all day and leave comments on chat
Yeah.
forums, and
Keyboard warriors. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
nothing's going to happen.
Build that business. Build that business fortress. Don't worry about leaving the coolest comment on Reddit or whatever. So, David, it's always awesome. Thanks for the just playful, impromptu, spontaneous, being willing to. You're not afraid of just chatting with me, whether it's hitting record or just offline. I always look forward to our conversations, man. So thanks so much. Do anything fun this weekend? What are you doing that's going to be life bringing?
I've been invited to a 50th birthday party, and the birthday girl is a person who always likes to go out and have fun on the weekends out at bars and
Oh,
things. So
great.
that's what we're doing, except
Cool.
we're all 50, so we're starting at 3
Okay, 3 a.m. Okay,
p.m.
no, 3
We're,
p.m. Yeah.
we're starting at 3 so that we can
Yes.
all be at home at a reasonable time,
Good, 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 man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's almost peak weekend here in Chicagoland, so I'm no doubt going to be trumping through some woods and just getting some nature, some good oxygen, like you like doing so often. So enjoy every minute of the birthday party, and everybody who's watching, have a fun weekend, and we'll see you later.